Hey, what's up, everyone? This is the Puck Bros podcast. My name is Brett, and as always, I'm joined by my brother, Nolan, and we are going to talk about some Hall of Fame forwards, some that we've seen get in since we became hockey fans, and some that maybe deserve to get in over a few of those players. Then we're going to give you all the latest hockey news, some extensions that have happened, maybe even talk about a rumor of a contract that could be happening, and then finally close out with talking about the Four Nations tournament, maybe some ideas for rosters for countries that weren't included for the tournament. But let's get it started. Here we go. Yeah, so the first thing that I wanted to talk about just stemmed from a conversation that we had during our last podcast. We were talking about Joe Pavelski, who decided to call it a career, and we were saying like, could he be a Hall of Famer? We both landed like, probably not. Um, he put up a lot of points, but the cup's not there, the award's not there, so it kind of made me curious. I'm like, what are some Hall of Famers who've played in the era that we've watched hockey, which is the post-lockout era? I would say we missed 4 years, I guess. But basically, I looked up every Hall of Famer forward. I got to be, because I was showing you the graphics. You're like, where's Shea Weber? I'm only gonna look at the forwards because if I did everyone, it'd be kind of insane.
Oh yeah.
And also, I should also mention only male forwards. There's a couple of females who've made it into the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's not the NHL Hall of Fame, the Hockey Hall of Fame, and we're not going to include them in this discussion because it's just completely different criteria there, and I wouldn't really know much about it, to be honest. So I'm going to show you guys some of the players. Nolan, you'll want to follow along in the graphics page here. Some of the Hall of Famers that we've seen play. So we've seen these guys play, which means they retired after 2009. So this is the most recent ones. In 2024, Pavel Datsyuk retired, my favorite non-Panther of all time, clearly deserving a Hall of Fame. Even if he doesn't have the games played in the NHL, remember, this is the Hockey Hall of Fame, so it's all hockey.
Mm-hmm.
So that KHL 260 games, he's played over 1,000 games of professional hockey. He's played even 92 games for Russia, won 2 gold medals, and clearly was no slouch on those international teams with 80 points. 7 individual awards in the NHL, even an individual award in the KHL with an additional cup in the KHL. So this guy's not going to be in the conversation. Maybe he shouldn't be there. And honestly, everyone on this page kind of is like an obvious Hall of Famer. I can go through them also. There's Daniel Alfredsson, who's big time with the Senators. The Sedin twins, they got into the Hall at the same time. This was something interesting. You see how they both have one award in the SEL?
What is that?
They co-won the MVP. So they gave the MVP to both of them.
That's crazy. Ow! Bite me. Sorry.
And no one got to see that, so because it's covered up by my graphic there.
Yeah.
And then,
but one thing about the Sedins that I always find interesting is that weird year where Daniel Sedin won, I believe, the Hart.
He did? Yep.
Yeah. That was like the most unexpected thing of all time.
Yeah.
And it's usually Henrik Sedin is the one that everyone knows because he's like the super playmaker.
Right.
Him and Daniel.
Yeah.
So Daniel having that one season where he was like the MVP of the
MVP,
league.
Yes.
It was interesting because it's like when Taylor Hall won it one year.
Yeah. So I feel like you're saying that like Daniel deserves it as much as Henrik. That's basically what you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then,
well, obviously they were so good together.
Yeah. And then the last two, maybe here's my one that's going to be kind of like, I don't know. I think he deserves it, but if he is deserving, then maybe some other guy should get in, and that's Marian Hossa there, who made it in 2020. Lots of games played, plenty of points, not a point per game guy, no individual awards, but he did win 3 Stanley Cups. I believe
There are the Sedins, but
what's that?
Well, the Sedins haven't won a cup either.
They did not win a cup, but they had the individual awards.
Yeah, you're talking about individual awards. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but you can see if you're looking at the graphic, Hossa has no individual awards, but he does have 3 cups. And like I think they were all with Chicago. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's all with Chicago.
Yes, because he lost both cups in the Pittsburgh Detroit back and forth
Oh
year.
yes,
He was
the
on
Corey Perry before Corey
Pittsburgh,
Perry.
and then he was on Detroit, and then he won the cup with Chicago in 2010.
Yeah, and then I think he stayed with them for the 13 and 15 cups. Had to
Yes.
be. Yeah, he's one I don't. He's kind of like that very good, right? Because you said Hall of Very Good. Would you put
Hmm.
Marian Hossa in that category?
It's tough because you got to look at it like, well, he did win 3 cups. Was he like?
But are we
Let me look at
overvaluing
his.
cups?
Let me look at his playoff stats during those 3 cups. While
Okay.
you continue to talk about why he doesn't deserve it.
I'm not so much saying that he's not deserving it. He just later when I bring up players who aren't in it and maybe players who might not be in that discussion, we compare the numbers and the statistics there. It's going to be like if Marian Hossa gets in, then these guys should also be in. That's kind of like my thing. Not so much saying Marian Hossa doesn't deserve to get in, but like where's our bar? Where are we setting our bar? Right.
I am looking at the stats. I have decided I don't think he deserved it.
He wasn't that instrumental in the cup wins, was he?
No. So first cup, 22 games, 3 goals, 12 assists, 15 points. This one's a little better. 2013, 22 games played, 7 goals, 9 assists. It's like, okay.
Okay.
2015, 23 games played, 4 goals, 13 assists. His most points in the playoffs, but 4 goals.
Right. The thing to say with Marian Hossa, he was never really the star for a team. Maybe with the
No.
Thrashers before Kovalchuk
The
got drafted
Thrashers and
there.
the Thrashers and Senators, that's where he was getting point per game seasons.
Right, but even with the Senators, he's being outshined by Alfredson.
Especially the Thrashers.
The Thrashers is where he's the only thing where you could say he's their best player, but even then he wasn't winning like the heart. Like he was just the best player on a crappy expansion team.
I'm looking at his stats right now. You know what's crazy?
Okay.
The year he had a 100-point season, and I think the only year that Atlanta made the playoffs, I'm pretty sure in their history,
before they moved to
he
Winnipeg.
played 4 games, 1 assist.
Nice. So
in his 100-point season, he had 1 assist in the playoffs.
Yeah, so we can focus in on Marian Hossa, but I'll keep going with the players that I think if I have if it's a player I don't think deserves in, we'll talk more about it, just like we did with Marian Hossa just then. So Jerome McGinley, all-time goal scorer,
he definitely deserves it.
Definitely deserves it. Only played at the NHL, no international competition, but he's Canadian, so that's typical. He played over 1,500 games, which is a lot. 1,300 points exactly, which is really cool. He never won that cup. He tried to cup chase a little bit because he joined Colorado late in his career. Remember LA? It's one of those guys that you don't expect to be in.
LA was such a weird spot for him.
Yeah. But 6 individual awards. I believe that's multiple Rocket Richards. I can't remember exactly. A couple of leadership awards. McGinley, definitely deserving. He's not going to be one of the guys that I say doesn't deserve it. So I'm going to move on to page. Oh, did you have something else you wanted to say about McGinley?
I guess I could just bring up also his son just got drafted.
Oh, Tidge? Good old Tidge.
Tidge McGinley with Seattle, I believe. I might be wrong.
You are wrong. It was
Utah
Hockey Club.
It was the other expansion
team.
team.
Big deal. Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah. Crazy.
So here, moving on to page 2. We're starting out with a guy that we really got to see a lot of. Not his prime, but still being an elite player. Martin St.
Definitely
Louis.
more as a Ranger.
Yeah, but I remember him as a Lightning a little bit.
A little bit.
But the guy won the Hart. He has an MVP. He played in Sweden or sorry, not that's Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Sorry, Switzerland for I think it was that 2013 lockout. So that's why it's only 23 games. But I decided to throw
Oh
it in
yeah,
there. You could see he was a beast. 25 points in 23 games.
yeah, he's just a beast.
Um, over 1,000 points, over 1,000 games played. Obviously won that cup with Tampa in 2004. I want to say 2004. That sounds
2004 when they beat the Flames.
yeah. He has 7 individual awards, which one does include MVP, 2 golds with Canada, almost point per game at the international stage, which is very impressive. A lot of these guys are not point per game on the international stage. So when you are, it's impressive. So no problem with St. Louis being in there. Then gonna move over to Paul Correa. So he
Oh wait, before
okay,
we pass on
sure.
St. Louis, I just want to. Did you know he played for the Calgary Flames?
No. How
That
many
was the
games?
first team he was on.
Like old. So that was before we were watching hockey
Yeah,
because I definitely
yeah. This was
I
in the
figured he was a
90s still.
lightning lifer.
Yeah, and I didn't realize. I thought he was on New York for a longer period because he was only on there for 2 seasons.
The trade was a big deal, so it probably
Yeah,
feels like
it
longer.
felt long, and then he also played when the Rangers made that cup against LA.
So he could have had 2 cups. Could have
He
had.
could have had 2 cups,
Hmm.
but and also probably the best undrafted
Player ever?
recent because technically Wayne Gretzky is undrafted,
Oh, that doesn't count. That doesn't
but
count.
I'm talking about like recently, like when drafts are a big deal. But yeah, that's a
Gretzky doesn't
cool
really count
thing
because of
about
the
St. Louis.
WHA thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
But St. Louis definitely a player that is very much likable, and I'm glad that he has had a good career and
and
is in the
now
Hall
he's
of Fame.
the Habs coach.
That's right. I don't know how long that's going to last.
So moving on to one that might be in that conversation, like I don't know, Paul Correa. So he finished with only 989 games played. So I'm wondering if he had some injury issues. Um,
He
one
definitely did.
one thing that's not in here because I don't think they would include it in their discussions with the Hall of Fame because it's not professional. But he at the NCAA level. Oh man, I think it was with Maine, but so if the team's wrong, at the NCAA level, he had like a 100-point season, which is like I think it's the only one in NCAA history. He won the Hobie Baker, so that was kind of a
Yeah.
big deal. But at the NHL level, he was obviously really remembered for the Ducks. He didn't stay on them long enough to win that cup that they got in 2006.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was in the New Jersey Cup. Right, when the Mighty Ducks played New Jersey.
Um. Oh, you're saying he made a cup, but they didn't win it.
Made the cup during that run, yeah.
I gotcha. I'm like
Wasn't very good
he
during it. He was 6 goals, 6 assists, but I believe he was dealing with injuries.
Yeah, so Korea is kind of like a very good player. He definitely had his seasons where he did very well. I mean, well, he finished point per game in his career, so he definitely was a good scorer. But to me,
Hmm.
just looking at these stats, they kind of feel similar to Hosa, but with no cups. So
Yeah.
that's
Only 46 playoff games. He was on some bad teams.
right. He, like I said, he missed out on the Ducks, like
Like when they
prime,
were
I
starting
guess.
making yeah,
Right.
once Getzlov and he missed out on Getzlov and Corey Perry
Right. Because he
and
was
Bobby
kind of
Ryan too.
yeah, he was the leader of the '90s Ducks, who were very subpar, we'll say.
Yeah.
So he's going to be another one in my discussion. Like, hey, if this guy's in, I think we can let in a few others. Next is Mark Recchi. We didn't really get to see him play much. We got to see him play a few games towards the end of his career. But Mark Recchi, I mean, look at the point totals there: 1,500. He won 3 cups, I think, with 3 different teams. When I remember looking it up, um, played a little bit on the international stage, not a ton. But in the NHL level, an elite player, elite goal scorer. I've been playing a lot of Sporkle lately, and Mark Recchi is a good guess for any sort of goal scoring quizzes.
Mhm.
But we only saw him a little bit. I think we saw him play with Boston.
Yeah, Boston and then Chicago when he won the cup.
Right. That's right. So yeah, it bounced around. I don't have any issues with Mark Recchi being in he would be one that's
No.
not in the controversial discussion. Same thing with this next guy, Teemu Solani. At this point,
So good.
the greatest Finnish player to ever play in the NHL. Nothing else comes to mind. I feel like Teemu Solani. Maybe Jari Kurri might, maybe, but I feel like Solani was the leader, and Jari Kurri was always like kind of riding Gretzky's coattails a little bit. But Solani finished with above point per game, even with 1,400 games played. He has that one cup with Anaheim, 3 awards, and the greatest rookie season of all time in 1993 with the Winnipeg Jets, where he put up 76 goals. Absolutely insane.
Nuts.
He won even a cup in Finland in the Semi-Liga. Look at his international points, 102 points in 96 games. He never won a gold, but he played a lot of games. Finland
Lots of silvers and bronzes.
Finland wasn't quite the same powerhouse it is now, but they were still really
Finland's
good.
gotten a lot better.
But Teemu Solani, no issues there. One of the all-time greats.
No. He's definitely... See, what I was thinking... I was going to bring up when you said Jari Kurri.
Okay.
He was the Scottie Pippen to Michael Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
See, basketball reference.
Most people probably would say Mark Messier for that one, but Jari Kurri's fine.
Mm-hmm. Then Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman. Yeah. Then we next have Sergei Fedorov, which is really weird in my mind. I picture him in a Capitals sweater when this guy was Red Wings almost his whole career. But yeah. I picture him in the Washington Capitals sweater because that's what he was when we saw him play. He was the Capital. Mm-hmm. Didn't do great at the Russian level, which is kind of surprising. You can see he's kind of like only half a point per game, but obviously with the NHL, like
he was playing when he was really old though. He's like still
not that old, not in the early 90s, because you can see he was with all those Detroit Red Wings 90s.
I thought he like played a good bit when he was retired.
Oh, you're right. That is, those Russian leagues are kind of when he was older. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out. But at the NHL level, all-time player, we only got to see the twilight of his career. But even then, he was still making impact, even at his older age. Mm-hmm. So, 4 individual awards, 2 golds with Russia. Great player. And the second Nashville Predator on this list, because Paul Kariya was
barely
Predator. Same thing with this guy, Peter Forsberg. Yeah. So Peter Forsberg only played 708 games at the NHL level. Doesn't it feels so tiny?
Real injury troubles is this guy.
Yeah.
Could not stay healthy.
But the Hall of Fame decided to not mark him for that because his stats are great. 885 points in 108 games. Even over there in Sweden, killed it. 225 points in 240 games and won 4 awards, and a lot of those are MVPs. So definitely no slouch there. At the international, he won 4 goals with Sweden. So
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when he could play, he was like one of the best. He also played during that dead puck era.
Right.
So being point per game is insane.
He was fortunate to not have to face Patrick Roy because he was on his team.
Exactly.
But anyways.
That team was so good. It's crazy that they didn't win a bunch of cups.
Only 2.
Only 2. That's crazy.
So the only one Hall of Famer here that's kind of like meh is Paul Kariya. So let's move on to this is the last page.
Well, you're talking about on that Pacific list.
No, just that page. So this is the last page. There's 4 players here. We got Mike Modano, who is typically regarded as the best American to ever play in the NHL, and he finished with. You wish he played one more game because look at that. Finished with 1,499.
Idiot.
1,374 points. Never won an individual award, despite being considered the greatest American to play. I think Patrick Kane will probably take that title at the end of his career. He won that cup in 1999 with Dallas. At the international level, he did win 1 gold with USA. And I should point out, I should have pointed this out earlier. The international ones are not just the Olympics, it's also like the World Cup of Hockey and the World Championships. So
Okay.
it's not just Olympics. Or else the point totals would be way lower and the games played would be way lower.
Here, I'll kind of speed run these last couple.
Oh, you want to? Sure.
I'll speed run them because I feel like we're spending way too much time on this one.
No
Brendan
problem.
Shanahan, the guy screwing over the Leafs, he was definitely a Hall of Famer. 1,500 games played, 1,300 points, 3 cups. I don't know the award he won. Do you know offhand?
I can't. I think it was a leadership one.
Probably leadership. Yeah. So definitely just a good leader. Definitely deserves the Hall of Fame when he was a player. Joe Sakic. I feel like we didn't see him play, but maybe we did.
We only saw his last year.
Okay.
Because it is true. He retired in 2009. So we did see his last year.
Yeah, he definitely easily deserves Hall of Fame. I mean, you look at those numbers.
They're
1,300 and 1,600. 2 cups with the Avalanche, 4 awards. Yeah, he definitely deserved it. No question. Matt Sundin, I don't know.
He's another
1,300 games, 193, 1 award. Internationally, those are some really good stats internationally. But
right, playing for Sweden, the same team that Peter Forsberg was on, by the way.
Yeah, so that's an insane 1-2 punch. Because Matt Sundin, even though I'm saying he shouldn't be a Hall of Famer, he was still really good
against international competition. Yeah. He probably gets a benefit of being one of the best Leafs of all time.
Yeah, but I don't know about Hall of Fame. He's in Hall of very good player.
Right. So here, thank you for us moving us on. Here's where the discussion gets a little interesting. Based on those guys that we mentioned, Matt Sundin, Paul Kariya, and the one other guy, he was on page 1. I have to look at it real quick. Marian Hossa. I think based on that, those guys got in. And again, those are the only players that got it, so only forwards that got in since we've watched playing hockey. There's some other guys who had much worse careers. I looked up a lot of things, but as far as players we've seen, so here is some players that should be in the Hall based on what we've seen. So I'm going to skip Pavelski and Kovalchuk. First, talk about McGillney, who you've never heard of. But if you look at his point totals, they are crazy. They're above point per game. He even won a cup. He has an award, which I think was a Rocket Richard, but I could be wrong. At the Russian level, he won 3 cups, which I think when you consider that this is the Hockey Hall of Fame and not the NHL Hall of Fame, that should be considered a part of it. So overall, he's won 4 cups in his career. At the international level for Russia, he won 2 gold. He played in the 90s and the early 2000s, playing against some of the best goalies. He was stuck with Buffalo for a long time, so he didn't play on a ton of great teams, but he still, did a lot. I think he's deserving, especially when you consider the guys that we just said, hey, look, these guys are in. I think this guy's had a better career.
It is crazy. He did make the playoffs every year he was with Buffalo.
Oh, so Buffalo was better than I...
Always got eliminated in the first round.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That was with Hasek as well.
He won the cup with New Jersey.
That's right, New Jersey. Yep.
So, and then he ended his career... Actually, no, he ended his career with New Jersey, but he did play a couple games, or 3 seasons with the Maple Leafs randomly.
Yeah.
So I think he deserves it.
Especially considering the other guys, right?
Yeah, I've never seen him play, but it would be like, oh, who's that if he made the Hall of Fame?
There's some other guys who've made the Hall of Fame. Here's some 2 names to throw out. They never played a game in the NHL. And again, that's okay because they base it off international competition as well. But, I mean, Vaclav Nedomansky and Alexander Yakushev. These are 2 guys who I think one of them never played in the NHL and one barely played in the NHL. And even then, their Russian stats and European stats are like, oh, they're pretty good. But, like, what are we doing? Like, put in McGillney. What are we doing?
Oh, fun fact about McGillney. The first Russian to be an NHL captain.
That is cool. See, come on. All the accolades. What are we doing?
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Let's move on to...
This is an easy for me.
Which Patrick Marleau?
Yeah. No.
Come on, he all-time leader in games played in the
Don't
NHL.
care if they put him in for that. That's so stupid.
He played a lot of games.
Yeah. I understand. Like Patrick Marleau should be remembered for that, but he should not be remembered as a Hall of Famer.
I actually agree with you, even though I'm being like the devil's advocate a little bit. I definitely agree with you. If he had like if his points were anywhere close to his games played, he's in. But what is that? 600 less points than games played? No. And his
Like we're not saying this is coming across as negative. Like he was not a bad player. He was very good for the Sharks for such a long time. Toronto, he's more like a veteran presence. And then I think he had a random year in Carolina.
I can't remember.
I remember that thinking the Maple Leafs traded like a first to get rid of him because they couldn't afford the other guys they wanted.
Yeah.
So overall, I think
it doesn't have the individual accolades. Doesn't have the cup, right? So
he has I believe he was on the Sharks when they went to a cup though, so he was close. But you know, he's really good, but not Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And then we got Keith Tkachuk, who we actually didn't get to see him play, but we know him very well.
He was in NHL 09.
Oh, was he? Okay, so he's still around.
Yeah.
So his points per game and games played might not jump out at you, but they're about the same as some of those other guys. I mean, he's got more points than Paul Kariya, more games played than Paul Kariya, same amount of cups, international, very similar. I feel like that's why I said, if the bar is Kariya and Hossa, I think Keith Tkachuk can be eligible. Like, you can make a case for it.
I think so. I'm going to look him up just a bit just to see what kind of seasons he's had. But I just remember like thinking when I thought power forward, I was like, this guy looks mean.
Yeah.
He has a mean face.
Was big on the Arizona Coyotes in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, he was on the Jets that turned into the Coyotes. So he was with that franchise for a while. And then what I knew him as is a St. Louis Blue.
Right. That's right.
That's definitely where like his career kind of dropped off a bit. Still having like really good years, but definitely more not his typical like close to point per game or like mostly just close. He's had a couple of years where he's like missing games because he was probably injured. Because he's like close to point per game his whole career.
Right. That's why I said he's might not be the greatest, but based on some of the other players that did get in, I think Keith should be in.
I think I'm looking at the stats and I'm like, he probably did make a conference final, but maybe one season he made a conference final. That's nuts. What happened in 2001? I'm sorry that I'm getting sidetracked, but I'm a little bit interested to see like
you're learning new things.
Okay, that's why. So first round they beat San Jose for the 2, then they sweep Dallas, and then they lose in 5 games. So that's why the number is super weird.
That was with Chris Pronger and everything.
Oh yeah,
Al McInnes. Then the last one of guys who are currently eligible, Rod Brind'Amour. I mean,
I didn't even know he would be just eligible still.
Yeah, he's still eligible. He's missed out on the vote a couple times. He has the cup. He has 2 Frank Selkes. So those aren't just like those King Clancy's and Mark Messier Leadership Award things. Mm-hmm. Those are the best defensive player in the NHL. And the points are there, over 1,000. It's clearly not point per game, but it's closer to point per game than Patrick Marleau, at least.
With 1,400, he's only about 13 points away.
There's this guy who made the NHL Hall of Fame, and he's like he has like the least amount of point per game thing. His name is Guy Carbonneau, obviously one of your favorite players of all time. You know him, right?
Yeah.
He made it.
I'm always thinking Guy.
So Guy Carbonneau made it in 2019. I don't have his stats pulled up. I'm not going to. All you have to know is that he played over 1,000 games, only had 600 points, but he won a bunch of Selkies, was a big time defensive player. So if Guy Carbonneau can get in for being a good defensive player with very little points, Brenda Moore
Yeah.
is just as deserving.
6 awards is really good. That he definitely deserves it. That's insane that he won that award 6 times.
Oh, Carbonneau? You looked him up?
Yeah. I didn't look him up, but 6 times
I don't think I
is
said
what you're
six.
saying?
No, no, no. I just said a lot of times. I can give you the right number real quick. Carbonneau. Guy Carbonneau. Let's go.
Guy Carbonneau.
It's a good name. I mean, he played with those like crazy Canadians teams that won all the time. So I've
Mm-hmm.
definitely helped boost his um I don't know what I was trying to say there. He won the Selkie 3 times. Sorry. So yeah, not six.
Oh, okay, that's still really good, but yeah, Robert Zamore's won it 2. He deserves it.
Right.
So
I agree.
yes, yes to Maligny, Thachuk, Brenda Moore.
No
No
to
to
Marlowe.
Pavelski, Kovalchuk, especially Kovalchuk,
Oh,
Patrick Marlowe.
but he's got 3 cups in Russia. Come on. Look at those
I
Russia
do not
numbers.
care.
You want to know
Kovalchuk.
something that's kind of interesting about that one award he has in the KHL? So, one of the years that he won the Gregorian Cup, I believe that's what it's called in the KHL,
Mhm.
he won like the Conn Smythe of the KHL. I don't remember what it's called, but it's playoff MVP. And he declined it and gave it to Dadonov, Evgeny Dadonov. Now, it's still
Oh
officially
wow,
Kovalchuk's, but Kovalchuk is like, no, Dadonov deserves it.
that's crazy. That's awesome.
So,
You know what? He can go in the Hall of Fame now.
just for that.
Just for that. What a good guy.
All right, we talked a lot about Hall of Fame. I hope that was interesting. I know you were starting to get interested just by looking up some old players. So hopefully, some other people are like,
Yeah.
maybe they'll want to look things up. Who knows? But now we're going to get
Yeah.
into much more modern talk, things that have happened this past week, mostly some extensions. So the first one we're going to talk about is Martin Necas. There was some possibility that he might have got an offer sheet from other teams because Carolina was having a hard time getting this deal done. They didn't have a lot of money, but this happened shortly after Kuznetsov's contract was terminated. So this must have freed up the money to make it happen because Necas signed with Carolina for 2 years with a $6.5 million cap hit. What do you think about that signing?
Uh, it makes sense because he had a down year from his previous season. So previous season he had 82 games played, 71 points, and you're like, oh yeah, we got a guy.
Stud.
He's gonna do even better. Then the following season, 77 games played, 53 points. He did have a better playoff though, so he was turning it up in the playoffs. But I think that's a good decision on both sides.
Just a
It's
little
a
2 year
it's
contract bridge deal. Yeah.
2 year making solid money and a prove it deal.
It definitely is a prove it
So
deal because of the length, right? That's that
yeah.
thing, like I said, it's a bridge deal. Hey,
This is
you
this is gonna either screw him over or
that's
he's gonna
right.
be making like he's gonna get his 8 year like 9 million contract next.
Yep. And I don't know if you're ready to move on, but
I'm ready. We talked a lot. We can move on pretty quickly.
speaking of 8 year max contracts, Brock Faber, guy who was top 3 in Calder votes this past year, just finished his entry level deal, signed an 8 year extension with Minnesota with an $8.5 million cap hit. He's making only .2 less than Cale Makar right now.
It's
And
nuts.
Brock Faber, one of this
What
came
a
out of
steal Cale
nowhere.
Makar's contract is. That okay. I can understand because he had a really good year.
He did. He did.
Minnesota's like we got the next number one defenseman in the league.
May.
Bro, give him that 8 year immediately. I feel like after the season he had. Okay, so is this okay? It begins in 25-26. Okay, that's a little more tolerable.
Oh wait, this is not immediate. This is happening next. It's still crazy.
N- yeah, I don't. Does it
Honestly,
even happen
I
next
hate
year?
that worse. I think that's worse. Why don't you let him play out this year, see how he's gonna do?
Dude, I that is insane that they were just like, we got the guy.
His agent had to have pushed for this hard. Like, dude, this is the only time you're gonna be able to get this contract.
I don't know. They probably just really like him
I don't know. It feels
because
like they haven't learned their lesson, Nolan. They haven't learned their lesson from Ryan Sooner and
oh,
Parise, who they're still paying, by the
yeah,
way.
they would have gave him like a 16-year deal if they could. But yeah, I this could look really good in a couple years if he does turn out to be the number
Right.
one guy. I'll say that because he for a rookie defenseman to get 47 points in their first season, that's really good.
Right. No, and maybe he does become like, I don't know, this would be insane, but if he becomes Kale McCarr esque, then his contract looks just as good as Kale
Yeah.
McCarr's does right now.
And fun fact about Brock Faber, he was drafted by the Kings originally.
Oh
And
no.
then
What was
Brock
the trade?
Faber, so the trade was actually the trade for Kevin Fiala.
Okay.
So
So
it
it's
was like a
not
first round pick and Brock Faber
Faber.
in exchange for Kevin Fiala, which is cool because the university Brock Faber played at was the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
So he didn't have to move far.
And I feel like LA doesn't hate this deal because Fiala's been so good for them, but
Oh no, it's a fair
man,
deal.
man. Especially whoever that
I
first round pick turns out to be.
well, let's see who it was. Find out. Um, where's where is LA?
If only Cap Friendly was still around, we would
There it
have.
is. Liam Ogren.
Oh yes.
He played 4 games for Minnesota this year recently and had a 1 goal and 1 assist already.
Okay, so it's a
So
steal. The
it's
LA
a
Kings are
steal. No,
fools.
I don't know about that. Give
So far,
Liam
it's
Ogren a full
even.
season.
So far, it's even. Another 8-year contract. This one makes a little bit more sense to me. Travis Konecny decided he's going to stick around in Philadelphia for 8 more years with an 8.75 cap hit. I think that's a good cap hit for a guy who was basically your best scorer last season. And you're not paying him over 10. That's where you kind of get crazy money for some of these guys. Konecny at 8.75. That feels like a good money. This feels like a good amount for him. What are your thoughts
Hmm.
on Konecny getting this extension?
I think it's good, but I will always hate Konechny
I know why. We talked about it.
because yep, Nashville could have gotten him if they didn't trade their first round pick for Cody Franson and Mike Santorelli. 1 year of those two
And you lose out on Travis
getting
Konecny.
eliminated in the first round, and we could have gotten this guy, and he is like a Philadelphia Flyer
Lifer
player.
for now. Yeah.
Yeah, he just has that build of a Philadelphia Flyer. Like he's like tough,
Right.
like is not afraid to like get physical, and he's only 5'10" and 192 pounds. Like that's my favorite type of player. Short, and I'm pissed.
Yeah. I did a Flyers GM mode for NHL 24. And I kind of like, you're kind of looking at the roster, and you've got Couturier and Konecny to kind of be your main piece. And I decided to move on from Couturier, keep Konecny. It was a great decision. And so I think with the Flyers doing this, because I don't know what they're going to do with Couturier. Maybe they keep
Yeah,
him.
I think they should hire you to be the GM because clearly,
Hey, I won a cup.
hey, I won the cup in NHL 24. Yep, we haven't heard that before.
Here's one piece of information that is missing. This was in last year's NHL, so I drafted Connor Bedard #1 overall. I like sold Couturier in a bunch, and so I got Bedard and Konecny on that top line.
So did you legitimately draft Bedard? Were you the worst team and got the
Yeah,
lottery, or did
yeah.
you okay, okay.
I traded, like I said,
That
I traded Couturier. I think I got rid of some defensemen. I made the team bad so that I could get Bedard. I did the Chicago thing basically, just tank for Bedard.
yeah, just throw everything away until you get Bedard.
Right.
That's
Uh,
so stupid. But you know, I guess we have one more signing
one more signing, and this one just kind of like
happen today.
yeah, it struck me as like okay, Caden Gooley, not the biggest name in the NHL at all. He has signed a 6-year extension with Montreal with a $5.55 million cap hit. Gooley is kind of a top 4 defenseman, maybe a top 6 defenseman on some of the better NHL teams. Um, but he's not a top 2. He's not elite. So the 6 years kind of sticks out to me. It's like, do you know if this guy's going to be that good for that
I
long? He's
know
kind of
I know
middling.
Montreal fans are a big fan of him.
Oh, yeah?
I
You've
think.
talked to them
I just
personally? Yes.
I just from being on a forum site, I know people like Caden Gooley.
Let's see. I'm trying to see
So,
how old he is right now because that's definitely. So, okay.
oh, he's still
He's
young.
22. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Former 16th overall pick. All right. So, I've
Mhm.
undervalued this guy in my head big time.
Oh yeah. No, he's a first round pick. He's good two-way defensively focused
They just haven't.
guy.
They haven't seen a ton of him, though. As you could look at his
They didn't
NHL games, he's
He has
played
two
2
seasons.
seasons. Yeah. So, this
But
contract is a bit of a gamble, in my opinion.
yeah, I feel like it's going to be fine, I think. Because they didn't give him 8 million for 8 years.
Right. They didn't pull the Brock Faber here.
Yeah.
Right.
This guy definitely not Brock Faber and I think is earning fair money for what his role is going to be as like a top 4 guy.
Right. And he's kind of committed to that, right? I mean, this is similar to the
Mhm.
contract that one guy in Washington signed. It's I can't even remember his name, but it was some random guy. He did pretty good, and then they kind of Washington locked him up to a long contract with this similar amount of money. Um,
I
so
do not know who you're thinking of.
I'm gonna have to look at their roster, aren't I? All right, Capitals. I have to go
We
stinking
can't.
Puckpedia because that's all I've got now. Maybe there's something else out there. You guys can feel free to let us know. Not Protoss. Show me your roster. Carlson, Roy, Chikrin, Rasmus Sandin, Fairhervey, Alexander. Who am I thinking of? No, 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 no. No, it's the Blackhawks. Hold on. It's the Blackhawks.
Oh, you're
Um,
thinking of what's his name?
yes, I know. I'm going to pull it up real quick. I don't know why I was thinking the Capitals. That's clearly not right.
It's not that guy. It's someone else.
It's not
As
that
soon as you
guy.
say it, I'm gonna be like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. My computer is
God,
not being nice to me right now, by the way.
I
But
I can try.
Alex Vlasic.
That dude, yep. Okay, very similar.
Yeah, he signed like I don't remember how long it was, but because
Hmm.
Puckpedia sucks at telling you how long it was. But he signed a very long contract. Oh, 6 years. So it's the same.
6 years.
4.6 cap hit. And he like barely played at all. And everyone's just like, okay, I guess. Like Alex
Well,
Vlasic.
works for me.
Oh man. That's who I was thinking of, Alex Vlasic.
Alrighty, now we gotta move on to the final topic.
Nope.
Oh, nope, actually not the final
Two
topic.
things. Hey, I just want to let you know we are only 43 minutes in, so it's not horribly long. So,
Not horribly long, but it is 11:36.
all right. So, one tiny thing, it's kind of cool, similar to Joe Pavelski. Although Eric Stahl did it a little bit differently, Eric Stahl signed a 1-day contract with the Hurricanes so he could retire as a Hurricane. So, Eric Stahl is not coming back to the NHL. He has officially retired, and that's the news doesn't stop there. The Hurricanes have decided they will be retiring his number 12. They don't know when, but it'll be sometime during this season. So no Hurricane in the future will wear number 12.
Now, was he on the Panthers when they won the cup?
No, he's on the Panthers when we lost the cup to Vegas.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So he's 1 year off.
Yeah. Did he even play last year?
Yeah, he had actually a goal in the Stanley Cup final.
Oh, he was on Edmonton?
No, 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 no. He played with us last year when we lost to Vegas.
Yeah, but did he play
He
this
did.
year?
He did not play a single game for any team this year.
Okay, see, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, no, he
That's
went.
why I thought he. That's why I thought he won the cup because his last season was a Panther,
No, yeah,
but it
no,
was the last season.
right. He did not have no team signed him this year, and I guess he figured, well, I guess it's not going to happen. So then he decided to call it quits. But
Well,
nice for Carolina to decide to let him retire as a Hurricane. That's definitely the franchise he's going to be known for, even though he had some good stints in Minnesota. Um, I think that's really the only one where he did well because I know he jumped around a lot in his career. I think there was one point he played with Montreal. Um, but Carolina is where he won his Stanley Cup. He was probably the biggest piece there. He was a captain there. It was kind of weird that Eric Stahl feels like he was kind of replaced by Jordan Stahl later in his career with
you
Carolina.
know,
But
I'm looking for his career, and there's some funny things about
okay,
this.
I'm ready to hear him.
So you remember when he got traded to the Rangers,
Oh,
right?
yes, yes, yes. Forgot about the Rangers, but yeah.
So he was traded to the Rangers in exchange for a prospect and 2 seconds. So not terrible. How do you remember him doing well for the Rangers?
Barely. I don't think he did very well.
6 points in 20 games during the regular season, 0 points in the playoffs, first
Nice.
round elimination.
Yikes.
Oof. Then,
Eh,
of course, he signs with Minnesota and does good there.
I was ready for you to tell me
And
that the players that they traded for were like Sebastian Aho and Jacob Slavin.
that would be fun if I could look that up, but of course, Cat Friendly doesn't exist.
So you can't look up what those picks were.
Yep.
That's
And I
stupid.
didn't know this. He was on Buffalo before getting
Oh,
traded to Montreal.
gosh. Yeah, like I said, he bounced
I
around so
forgot.
much after leaving Carolina. But
Yeah, it was
Minnesota, he did do well in Minnesota.
did do well in Minnesota because he actually like signed a contract there.
Right.
Like he was making good money and actually played up to the contract. And then of course Montreal made the cup that year, lost it.
Oh, so he
Then
lost two
Florida,
cups.
he lost
Wow.
2 cups in 2 NHL seasons.
So he's one
So
for three in cup finals.
one for three, but you can't win them all.
Can't win them all. He did win one, so he can say his name is on the Stanley Cup.
That is true. Would have been better if it was three. But I think he'll be a Hall of Famer.
I think so too. I mean, we looked at it. I feel like we probably could just be on the committee at this point. We clearly could make informed decisions. So
Yeah, no.
Eric Eric Stahl's in, but he has to wait. Actually, only 2 more seasons because he didn't play any professional hockey this year. So he could be on the ballot 2 years from now. The person, by the way, as far as who's making it for 2025, Joe Thornton will be a Hall of Famer for sure. He's like
Hmm.
the he will be eligible next season. Also, another guy who randomly finished his career on the Panthers. So, yeah, Joe Thornton will be in. All right, you ready
Another
to?
guy. Such a shame he didn't win a cup.
Yes, and I think yeah, we had Joe Thornton and Eric Stahl, or was Joe Thornton? Joe Thornton might have been the President's Trophy season, so
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Yeah, no, that is right. Yep, he was President's Trophy season, so no, he was. He barely played, so I don't even know if he had enough games played to make it. But
Oh, sorry about that.
you okay? The chair
My
okay?
chair decided to collapse on me.
Everyone who's just listening, oh gosh, what was that? He's okay.
I'm good.
Let's move on to our final topic of discussion. Something that I've just been thinking about with this Four Nations tournament that's going to kind of like replace the All-Star game this coming season. They decided to only, like I said, it's called the Four Nations tournament, which means they're only doing 4 nations. There's a couple players spoke out saying, what the heck? Might have to only be 4. There's a lot of international representation at the NHL. Honestly, it is the most international game in North America, maybe outside the MLS. I think the MLS is crazy, but it has definitely more than the NFL. The NFL is pretty much all American. The
Yeah.
NBA has some international, but still majority American. Baseball's close, but still, like I think you have percentage of the league is American. So,
Yeah, I think with baseball, it's definitely like any European, like besides Japan,
but Japan's
Asia,
Asia, yeah.
yeah,
Korea.
and then yeah, you don't get any of those guys. Typically, it's definitely South America is
Oh,
where
right.
you're getting a lot of baseball players
Right.
because baseball
Cuba,
is
Dominican
huge.
Republic, Mexico.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
huge down there.
But anyways, so only 4 nations will be represented in this tournament. Um, two countries that basically feel like they're the other two that could have been added to this. I think you can make cases for even Switzerland,
Hmm.
and Germany would be if we were going to do eight. I
Germany.
is so the two teams we're going to talk about though are Czechia and Russia. Just Czechia because David Pastrnak is the one who explicitly spoke out saying, "Hey, we just won the World Championship of Hockey, but now we're not even going to be represented in this NHL tournament." Russia is incredibly good, but because of all the geopolitical stuff going on, they
Hmm.
probably why they only picked four. Because if you go to eight and you don't pick Russia out of your top eight hockey countries, kind of messed up. Even though this is just NHL players, which is crazy. Like this wasn't gonna be a full international thing. This is just NHL players. Um,
Hmm.
but quickly, I'm just gonna go over those rosters for the ones that we do know. So these are the 4 nations. They not the full roster. Sorry, I should correct myself. Only the initial six. So for the USA, you've got Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel, Matthew Kachuk, Quinn Hughes, Charlie McAvoy, Adam Fox. Great decor. I don't think that's your first line because there's two centers, but still a great top three for the
Yeah,
USA.
that'll be a good team.
Right, even just with the six, you can kind of tell like USA's good.
Yeah,
Let's move on to Canada. So Canada goes with Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Brad Marchand.
that's
What
deserving. Brad Marchand's really good.
meh. Braden Point and Kale McCarr.
Yeah, Kale McCarr.
I mean,
Unfair.
yeah, Canada really good, obviously. I mean, they're the thing with them is going to be their depth, right? More than
Dude, that's center core. Connor McDavid first line, Nathan McKinnon second, and then third
Sidney
line
Crosby.
center Sidney
If Sidney
Crosby. Oh
Crosby is your
no.
third line center, I think you're doing pretty good. Let's move on over to Europe.
Another good center core.
Finland, who they selected Alexander Barkov, Sebastian Aho, Mikko Rantanen, Esa Lindell, Miro Heiskanen, Jussi Saros. All really good
Yeah.
players. Like Finland is going to be they're going to be able to
Sounds like
compete.
UC is going to be the starter, but I really don't know any other Finnish goaltenders who are like really good.
Let's I can look this up on Quaint Hockey. Finland active goaltenders. Tell you what, with cap friendly gone, you gotta do with what you got. Antti
Deal with
Ranta,
what you got.
Jonas Carposalo, Capo Kakinen,
Oh
uh,
my god, yeah, he's the only elite guy. That's crazy.
Ville Husso, Kevin Lankinen, Uka Pekka Lukanen, and Justus Anunen. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's obvious. I
It's
thought there was
obvious.
another good Finnish goalie, but
Nah,
I guess
there's
I was
not
wrong.
as it's not like when you had
A lot of those guys
Kiprasov
are
and
like
Rene.
backups. Yeah. It's no longer that. We need more Finnish goaltenders. Good lord.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Sweden. And this is the last country that this is their initial six. You got William Nylander, Philip Forsberg, Mika Zibanejad, Victor Hedman, Gustav Forsling, and Eric Carlson still made it, even though he's kind of regressing a little bit, but I think it's a deserving pick.
You're saying he's regressed, but didn't he just like have like one of the best defensive seasons?
2 years ago, last year he was meh.
Yeah, that's true. Pittsburgh, so stupid.
Yeah, so those are the four teams. I'm not trying to say they're not good. They're clearly, those are all elite rosters with just six players. Like if you just did,
I do find it I find it surprising that Forsling made the initial six.
Come,
That's
come
really good for him.
on, come on.
Well,
He just
I
won a
know he's really
cup.
good, but that's what I was like. Wow, he's that good. They just announced him first day.
Yeah, if I'm looking at who else makes it, as far as Swedish defensemen, the other guys that you could have potentially picked is Rasmus Dahlin,
Oh
um,
yeah, he'll
Ekholm,
make it.
Ekholm. Maybe I don't know if he's on the same level as Forsling, but Ekholm. Uh, there's Brodeen. I'm trying to look at ones that
So far all the guys you named are left-handed. I'm like, oh god, they don't have a righty.
Rasmus Anderson.
Rasmus Anderson's a righty, but
There you
I don't
go.
know if he's that good.
As far that's about. There's other good guys here, but I'm trying to pick guys that could have been maybe. I think Darlene would be the only one,
Darlene, yeah.
and that because there's Oliver Ekman Larson, who also, but he wouldn't have been the initial six. And
No,
Klingberg, who had an injured, prone, crazy, terrible season. Yeah.
Klinberg should not be
So
on the
maybe
team, but
Darlene
he
would
might.
instead of Forsling, and that wouldn't have upset me. But I think it's really cool that Forsling will be on it.
That is cool.
So now let's talk about what if this was a Six Nations tournament with Czechia and Russia, because they can have full rosters at this tournament if they wanted to. So here I'm going to pull you up what I decided to go with Czechia. So again, this is just me. If you want to look up, see if you disagree, feel free. But Czechia, I decided to go with David Pastrnak, shocker, Thomas Hurdle, Martin Necas, Pavel Zacha, Filip Hronek, and Radko Gudas. And honestly, this is what my Czechia might not have made it, because once you get past those like David Pastrnak, Filip Hronek, it's not like as elite as some of the other countries.
No, they would definitely need international help.
Right, and I don't even know what's really out there, to be
Mhm.
honest. Um, yeah, so
Yeah,
like it's good,
it's
but it's like some other
I don't
guys
know.
to think about: Andrej Palat, Jacob Vrana, Radek Foska, Dominic Kubalik, Philip Hedel. Trying to give you some other defensemen, but there's really not that much. Jan Ruda, that guy is
Yeah,
really
that's
old.
another righty.
David Juracek, who's really young.
Another righty.
Oh, but that might be it. That's for a defenseman. That would they'd have to have some forwards on defense or something.
Really? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So Czechia defenders, there's not much out there.
Yeah, that's probably why they didn't make it Pasternak. Sorry.
And
Wait
then
for more of your countrymen to get better.
that's right. Yeah, I mean, Yager did so much for Czechia. Obviously, do
Hmm.
you remember Michael Frolik? He was
Michael
called
Frolik.
Little Yager,
Mhm.
even though it didn't really pan out. But
He turned out to be more of a defensive player.
you're right. Yeah. Then their goalie tenders are not their goalie tenders. Their goaltenders have taken a step back as well, because Czechia used to have some great goaltenders like Vokun. Vokun?
Hasek?
Hasek? I think you're right. Let's
Yeah.
check. Why not? Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Hmm.
Hasek. But these are the goaltenders right now. Their top one is probably Peter Mrazek. Um,
Yikes.
then you got Vitek Vanacek and Karl Vamelka. That's their big three.
Karl Vmelka would be the starter.
Out of those three, you think? Yeah. I
Definitely.
mean, got Lucas Dahlstol coming up. He's a
He'll
Czechia native. So,
he'll be close, probably.
but yeah, so Czechia is not as impressive, and that's why I saved these guys for the second one. Russia. Oh, sorry, I was not ready to pull this up. Apparently, here we go. Here's Russia's potential initial six roster according to me: Alex Ovechkin, Nikita Kucherov, Artemi Panarin, Kirill Kaprizov, Evgeny Malkin, and Mikhail Sergachev. Their forwards are absolutely loaded. It
Yeah.
is insane. And I could have
That's
even went
usually Russia's thing.
like I could have went with even other players like who else was I thinking? Oh, no, that's clearly the best ones because the other ones are like Tarasenko, who I is still really good, but I think I picked Malkin over him. Kuznetsov is up there, maybe. Buchnevich, Dadanov, obviously. Andrei Svechnikov, really good. As far as the defenders, the one I picked Sergachev, but I think he's the best one. But there's Dmitry
Mhm.
Orlov, there's Ivan Provorov, Nikita Zadorov,
All
Gavrikov, who
lefties.
took a step back, but he's still up there. Labushkin, Romanov. I'm trying to give you some righties. I don't know if they are. Mintukov.
Labushkin, I think.
Yeah, but
Who?
they're and then oh man, I should have picked goalies. What was I thinking? I forgot.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised
I should
Evgeny
have
Malkin's on here
I should have put Vasilevsky. I'm
compared
sorry. That's so
compared to
just
like
pretend I put
Vasilevsky, Shesterkin,
Chesterkin and
and
Bobrovsky.
Sorokin.
Sorokin and
Dude, I don't.
Bobrovsky.
Bobrovsky, I think, is not as good as Sorokin.
They just won the cup.
He did win the cup, but I'm thinking of those three.
Man,
Like they
think
have
about
four.
Bobrovsky getting left off of a roster like that. You're right.
It is crazy.
I should
Russia
have
has a
put
lot of good
Vasilevsky.
goalies.
I should have picked Vasilevsky over Malkin. So good call on that one. But still, that proves like look how good Russia is. But because of the stupid geopolitical crap, which I mean, it sucks it's happening, but I feel like that shouldn't affect NHL players' ability to play in a tournament like this. Like I said, there's not even international players coming in. It's literally just players in the NHL.
If the whole thing is like you don't want to view, I feel like all countries don't want to view a country that is doing bad stuff as like a winner.
Maybe they could do
that's
like
that's
what
why they're thinking of it. But I agree that it sucks that these good players can't play.
what is it like at the Olympics? Not this year. Maybe they are. I haven't really watched the Olympics, but I know
Same.
um either at the last Winter Olympics. Yeah, no, it had to be at the Winter Olympics. They were like Republic of Russia athletes, so they weren't even representing their country.
See if they do that, then I wouldn't care.
Yeah, they could have just done like Russian NHLers. I don't know what you want to call it.
Yeah, the Russians of the NHL.
But see, that seems silly to me. Like it's Russia. Whatever. I don't know. That
Yeah,
kind of stuff doesn't bother me as far as like not saying that the stuff that's happening doesn't bother me, but NHL players just playing together for a country that they're all born from and they can't control what their leader does. Like that seems silly to me. And
yeah.
maybe you disagree.
But what if? See, the thing is, that's why it's controversial. Is like if they went in and they're like celebrating with the bad guy,
Oh,
you know,
you've got that. Okay.
that would be a pretty bad image.
But would they?
E-
I mean,
They won for their country.
it's just
They
an
won gold
all-star
for their
game.
country.
It's basically just an all-star game though.
I I know, but it's a thing where it's the easiest option to look safe and good for NHL, which Gary Bettman's a former lawyer. He'll be like, yeah, I just think we're not going to let him play because in a scenario we do, we're going to look bad. If we don't let him, we're going to look bad, but at least we won't look as bad, I guess. There's just no right answer.
Like I said, this is why they probably only picked 4 because if you do 6 and if you do 8 and include Switzerland, Germany, and Czechia, but you don't include Russia, then it becomes more obvious that you're only leaving them out for the geopolitical stuff. When you're doing 4, you're kind of like, hey, look, these are 4 of the top countries. Like, we're only going to do 4. I feel like Russia could be better than Finland or Sweden, maybe even USA. Canada's obviously going to be number 1. That's just the way it is. But Russia would compete with any of these 4 teams.
Yeah.
But
That's
whatever.
fair.
I get your point as well that like if someone like is an NHL fan and they are from Ukraine and then they see Russia win this tournament, they'd probably be like they don't want to lose them as a fan, I guess.
That or just like even like people of American viewpoints, I'm sure most people don't see Russia as a good country right now
Well, even
because of
me, but even me who doesn't really see them as like doing the right thing, obviously, I wouldn't be bothered by them winning a tournament like of guys
yeah,
like, and maybe that's just my mindset. I don't know.
it's
Maybe I
it's
should
a
care more.
thing.
I don't know.
It's and you're not wrong for feeling that at all. I don't think
Right.
because
I'm not saying like
you're not
they're
you're not
doing the right
rooting
thing.
for
No.
you're rooting for good hockey players to play against each other. You're
Right.
not
That's
rooting
it.
for
Yeah.
I want to see Russia take gold.
Right. Right. I just feel like exactly. I think these are players who can put together a good team, and they're only being prevented just because they happen to be born in a place where their leader sucks. Right. So
Yeah, exactly. Well,
we
let's
pushed
end on a
over an
good note.
hour. You want to end on a
Let's
good
end
note?
on a good note.
Okay. What's up?
Alrighty. Let me think of a question real quick. I should probably do these at the beginning. Ooh.
The
All right. This
gears
is the
are
only one
turning.
that popped into my head just because of the shirt I'm wearing that has an animal on it. If you were to born, if you could be any animal, what would you be?
If I could be any animal, what could I be? What would I be?
Hmm.
I've been watching a lot of ocean stuff on my reels right now, like these giant whales and some orcas, some giant sharks.
Hmm.
Seems like being a whale is pretty chill, if especially now that there's so much illegal stuff. So I'm gonna pick
Yeah.
a whale,
What type of whale?
a blue whale.
A blue whale. Okay. I
That's where I'm
would
leaning right
go.
now.
I'm trying to think of because this question always confuses me because I have animals I like. I definitely don't want to be a blobfish because apparently when they go up, it's extremely painful.
I like. I think you only brought that thought of that because I brought up the ocean thing, the blobfish.
No, I've been loving blobfish since Stardew Valley,
Oh,
the
okay,
video
okay. I
game.
got you. I got you.
Let's see what animal. I might just be lazy and pick cat
I
so I
picked
could sleep.
tiger,
No, not
lion,
tiger.
house
I would
cat.
love I would love to be a house cat so I could literally just nap and then be a jerk out of nowhere and they'll still like me.
That is
I could just
basically how a cat is. Yes.
yes, I can just go up, knock something down. It's like they're don't care.
And
Pick
then
it up.
there's no consequences for being a cat. I don't know what I just said, but
Yeah.
I meant to say there's no consequences when you're a cat.
No, unless you're a garbage human being who would hit a cat for some reason.
I thought we were trying to end this on a good note, and you bring up freaking someone hitting a cat.
Oh shoot, my bad. Um,
We
let's end
like
on a good
kitty.
note.
We like kitties. I love my kitty
We like
Belle.
kitties.
You like
We
your kitty
both have
Hootie.
kitties. Hmm. I think
Yes,
you should edit in a picture of Hootie and Belle for the end of the episode.
that's a little bit of work, but I could do it.
Yeah, and play like some like a meow 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 meow.
No, that now it sounds like too much work.
No, it sounds too much work. The add audio,
Yes,
that's not too much work.
it's so much work. You have no idea.
Okay, dude.
All right. Well, guys, that's it from us. That is it from the Puck Bros. My name is Brett.
I'm Nolan.
All right. Until next time.
Bye.